Good afternoon and welcome to my channel, Redeeming Thunder. I'm going to give you a prophetic word given by yahuah himself in a Rema word, but also I wanted to share a striking vision. What would one see as the definition of SEIGE? So it started with prostration, praying, and staying in silence. The word palepos in Greek has to do with the chitter chatter, thoughts that go in the mind as you're trying to stay quiet and hear the whisper, the unction of yahuah. So one must quiet that first. And sometimes it could take days, sadly. You'd have to keep going in to the secret place and keep trying to dig deep in worship and quiet the mind, because it is important that your own thoughts, that your own ideas are not getting mixed in when you're receiving a Rema word. And so it began with yahuah stating to me, "My son, my daughter, I have been with you all along. You are under my wings of protection. I have waited for so long, but now it is time that you see my glory. No more tears of sorrow." And so he continues on to say, "I have given you authority to compost the enemy, your enemies." The other thing I remember him saying is Mosa, massas, Pasar. And when I pray in English, but I also pray in the Spirit. And so that is when I receive downloads from Ruach HaKodesh in Hebrew, which is Mosa stands for, spelled M-O-S-A, and it stands for an act of going forth, an act of going out, a divergent plan. Massa stands for an utterance, a burden, a tribute to be said. And Pasar stands for to press forward, to press on, to push. So it kind of gave me the idea of we're wrestling with the angel of yahuah for our blessing. But then I also thought it could also be that we need to push forward even when we're going to see many fall at our sides. He wants us to press forward, to push forward, and to continue to give the prophetic word. And later on, he states, with a little bit of an angry tone, with a little bit of a tone that is stern, okay? And he is stating that we need to ascend. We need to, did that help? No. We need to arise to our position, he says. Because this journey that we are about to embark on is siege. And that's where I was like, gulp, right? Thinking, what do you mean by siege? He's about to take your enemies out. And when I thought that, I thought of the Red Sea. Like, you may be in a situation at this time where I certainly am, where everything was flowing nicely, and all of a sudden there was a halt. And maybe you were waiting for your funds to come through. Maybe you were waiting for certain people to come into your life to assist you, and maybe their flight was delayed, their arrival has been, maybe you were needing a caregiver, or you needed a caregiver for one of your family members, and all of a sudden there was a halt on that. Okay, maybe you needed the job. You did the interview, you got hired, and everything was running smoothly, and all of a sudden it was the car. You had to there's a brake on it, and you're like, what just happened here? Now they're saying we need more information from you, or they're saying they're not saying anything at all when the start date is, and you're just like, what happened? You're kind of left in limbo. Okay, that might be happening to you at this time. And so I wanted to tell you that this little sudden moment where you need to stand is not from Satan. It is from Yahuah himself. He needs you to take a back seat because he's about to do a show of siege to your enemies, and he kind of needs you to just trust him right now and not run off on your own rapid ideas of launching forth emergency. Go get a cash loan somewhere. Go have some other person that you didn't have an idea to go be a caregiver for yourself or your husband or for your family member. A different plan. Don't do the different plan yet. It is still going to be the plan, but he needs you to wait because there's something that's going to happen from the time of now. Okay? He needs you to wait. Don't go and run off and try to fly over to meet the other person that you're waiting for instead of that person coming to you, which was the original plan. Just hold off. Wait for it. I know it doesn't make sense, but just like the Israelites, they escaped Egypt. Okay? And then they went into a rest. But then the Egyptians changed their mind and wanted to come and attack. They didn't want those slaves freed. So they went forth to attack. But you remember that Yahuah sent his pillar of cloud, a bunch of dust, and they couldn't see where they were below. And then they started to get frightened, thinking, well, there's nowhere to go, because if you go up on the hill, that's where the Egyptian and his armies are. But when you go down, there's nowhere because there's a giant river and they can't all cross. Okay? So that is when Moses handed out his staff of authority. And when he did that, because he heard the voice of Yahuah tell him to do so. When he did that, this is what happened. The sea parted, okay? And there was an enormous breakthrough, okay? And your breakthrough is coming. But what else What else happened? That breakthrough came with demise for the enemy. The breakthrough came with total corruption and desolation, total catastrophe for the enemy. And not only to the point of catastrophe, what I'm trying to get at is they did not live. They did not live after getting bombarded with the Great Sea as it closed. They did not live. The Israelites escaped safely. But if you notice, the Egyptians, the enemy, did not live. In fact, the entire army was taken out. And that is siege. Okay? That is what siege is. Now, he also went on to say that, must you break my commandments? He said, I'm talking to the Sapa sea. He's talking to the watchmen that see. Sapa means watchman, guard, the watchman on the wall, the prophets. He is very, very stern regarding following his commandments. And he says, I'm going to break every Sapa sea who does not follow my commandments. And he says apostasy. So he's also talking about taking out all of those who are carrying a spirit of apostasy. If you want to know what that means, it means someone who is like an atheist, who backslid and has zero faith. Okay? Were once a believer and no longer a believer. Those are the ones that are also going to be taken out. And that's alarming. That's going to be a grand number, because how the majority of the world has been following idols, and why these changes are going to be taking place. Now, the vision that I had, I want to say real quick before I have to go to an appointment. I was standing on the sidewalk, and suddenly I know that neighborhood. That was a childhood neighborhood. And so I found myself standing on a sidewalk, and I look in the middle of the street. So, you know, the sidewalk's concrete and the street is asphalt. In that middle section, all of a sudden a portal opened up, and inside of it looked gloomy. It looked gray tones. Okay? And I look at myself looking down, and there's this ginormous, like the handle was this wide, and it was made of gold, and it was a ginormous sword. Okay? And made of gold and of silver inlay decor around it, on top of it. And it was a silver sword, like the sharp piece of it. The handle was made of gold. It also had gold on, but this sword was like this wide, really big. And for some reason, when I held it, it wasn't that heavy. And if you think about this logic, of course it's going to be heavy. I'm carrying silver and gold sword, and it's enormous. A thin one, a thin handle would be heavy. I just imagine this one, but for some reason it was not heavy for me. And then when the portal opened, I saw a bunch of, it was gloomy in there, but the detail that I didn't say, other detail I didn't say yet, was there was a bunch of goblins, like figures that looked like, they looked ashy and goblins, like mummies, almost like that. And they were just all a big group of them, like an enormous group. And I grabbed a sword and I chucked it in. I chucked it a ways away, and it flew into that portal. And it literally just chopped everybody, all of those goblins. It chopped them up. And then it swung back to me, and I grabbed it again. Then the portal, they all were done for. And then the portal closed up, and I had the big giant sword in my hand, and then I snapped out of that vision. And I had that vision probably in December. So this word is October 24th, 2024. And I had that word, that vision, and I feel like it all ties together what's going to happen. And once we send forth these prophetic words into the world, it all manifests. Hallelujah. Deliverance from our enemies is now. Shalom.